I just want to start this off by asking a question to you guys. Now, this is not going to be a question for everybody. Like, if you're born in 2000 and onward, then this question won't be for you. This is more for my older audience just watching this. Now, do you guys remember Pirates in the Caribbean before the movies ever existed?
It was a simpler time. A time when there were no big budget films, no random romances, no evil curse, no swashbuckling action scenes, no Barbossa, no Will, no Elizabeth, even Jack Sparrow never existed. The only things that anyone could ever associate with Pirates in the Caribbean are the famous attraction at the Disney parks and that unforgettable song.
Yo ho, yo ho, a pirate's life for me.
And even without people like Will and Jack, it was filled with plenty of memorable characters that were the real stars of the show, like the prisoners, the dog with keys, the mayor getting dunked, the redhead, the auctioneer, and my personal favorite, the drunken pervert.
It's sore I be to hoist me colours on the likes of that shy little wench. I be willing to share, I be.
With the way that it transports guests into a world where pirates are just wreaking havoc in an unsuspected town, it was regarded as one of the greatest rides that Disney had ever made. Not just because it was Walt Disney's swan song for his attractions, but it also revolutionized what the rides at the Disney parks would be today. But then, in 2003, the ride would completely change forever, as Disney decided to make the risky move of turning the attraction into a feature film called Pirates in the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. And it was awesome! It actually found a way to turn a theme park ride into an action-packed spectacle with great humor, nice effects, and well-crafted characters, while also paying great homage to its source material. So naturally, in 2006, there would be a sequel, titled Dead Man's Chest. It wasn't as good as the first, since it was a really goofy movie, but it was still fun to watch as it doesn't take itself too seriously, on top of some nice visual effects and possibly the best fight scene of the entire franchise. But then in the following year, that's when the films jumped the shark when At World's End was released. Not only did it scrap the things that people loved in its predecessor, but many of the ideas it presented are so dumb that they made people want to go in front of the movie and ask,
"What are you doing?
What are you doing?
No, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
No, what are you doing?
What are you doing?"
If Disney wanted to make another film at that point, it had to get rid of a lot of problems. Which is exactly what they did in 2011 with On Stranger Tides. It did make some improvements by eliminating everyone in the cast with the exception of Jack Sparrow, Barbossa, and Mr. Gibbs, but it unfortunately felt like a poor man's version of the first one, where some of the elements feel like they took it right out of Curse of the Black Pearl and include this really pointless romance subplot with a mermaid and a stupid priest.
And then we come to 2017, where Disney released a new adventure with Jack Sparrow called Dead Men Tell No Tales. It took a little bit of a while to be released after the fourth, but that move was most likely made so that this one could actually connect with the 50th anniversary of the ride that it was based on. But not only would this be the 5th movie, but they also promised that this would be the last film of the franchise. The same promise that they have made 10 years before this one, when they also said that about At World's End. But anyways, let's pretend that this actually is the final feature of the franchise, and go and ask the big question, did they end this off with a bang? Sort of? Well, it's a little hard to explain. It's just that they kind of mix something old with something new.
Let me start off by repeating a bit of what I said about On Stranger Tides. One of the biggest issues with the 4th film is that it does copy some elements from the first film, like Blackbeard and his crew is reminiscent to Barbossa and his skeletal pirates, and Jack meddling with lawful officials, with the one guy becoming a frenemy. That, and the story has been reduced to a treasure hunt plot to find the stuff that will lead to the ultimate prize. This would carry on to Dead Men Tell No Tales. Only this time, the plot is to search for Poseidon's trident to break all the curses, and now it's taking some parts from Dead Man's Chest, where an entire crew of supernatural pirates is hunting down Jack Sparrow to settle something with him, complete with a Turner whose goal is to break his dad's curse and free him from the Flying Dutchman. In a way, the plot itself is rather lazy, and it's not hard to predict what the outcome could be in all this. But in terms of execution, it's not that bad, and you could tell where the focus has been placed, on top of some nice humor to add a bit of fun into the adventure. One good thing that it has going for it is the action scenes, and these are some of the most grand and creative moments that they've done in a long time. Rather it be the chase with the entire bank, escaping the zombie sharks, or some of Jack's fights with Salazar.
Although the story may be one thing, and it is true that it is rather hit and miss here, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies have always been more of a character-driven franchise. We would go and see the movies to go and watch people like Jack Sparrow and all the crazy ways that he would get out of a peculiar situation. And so, when it comes to the fifth film, well, don't put your expectations too high when it comes to seeing old friends.
Let me start this off by talking about Jack Sparrow here. I understand that it's a little bit of a running gag in the film series that he certainly does not appear to be as notorious and amazing as the legends say about him. In here, not only is it trying to run that trope to the ground to where it's starting to look cliched, but now it's starting to imply onto Johnny Depp's performance as well. I don't know what drove him into this level of madness, but now he's really hamming it up to where it's even becoming over the top by Jack Sparrow standards.
Do you have the courage and fortitude to follow orders and stay true in the face of danger and almost certain death?
So I just happen to be Captain Jack Sparrow.
I will give the movie that the origin story where it explained how Jack became the pirate we all know him today is nice and does make a good scene in the movie, but it is a problem when one scene can triumph over one's entire performance. Seriously, who knew a CGI younger Jack can act better than Johnny Depp? Back to the characters, you also got Barbossa and Gibbs playing the same role as in the last film, where Hector is Jack's frenemy and Gibbs is the loyal first mate that can still be annoyed by Sparrow. As for the new characters that are presented here, Henry would probably be the weakest of the bunch, both literally and figuratively. Like I said before, he's just a copy of Will Turner in the second and third film, but he doesn't really fight back as much as his dad does. The only good thing I could say about him is that at least he's not the dumb priest from last time. But then you have Karina, who is probably the best new addition to the franchise since Sisumbaji in At World's End. She's not just a damsel in distress or an Elizabeth 2.0. She's someone who's more ahead of her time where her intelligence is not welcome in the period that she is set in. However, her knowledge of the stars can be both a blessing and a curse, since it is highly useful for the pirate's adventure, but it can also lead her to be a bit stubborn and fail to realize when she can be wrong. In a way, it also gives the movie a bit of a commentary regarding some men who fear women that threaten their dominance, so in order to put them back down in a level lower than them, they would give the girls the label of a witch, or in modern terms, an SJW.
From this moment on, we are to be allies!
Considering where your left hand is, I'd say we're more than that.
But I will say that the one problem about her, though, would be where she came from. Without spoiling anything, the only thing I'll say about this is just, do you really have to force in that connection? Other characters that are in here include Mulroy and Murdoch that are obviously supposed to be Pintel and Ragetti, a cleverly used Will Turner, and a charmingly weird Paul McCartney as Jack's crazy uncle. But of course I can't forget about the villain of this feature, Capitan Salazar. Although he doesn't reach the levels of awesomeness of Barbossa or Davy Jones, he is one of the best villains that the franchise had in a while. Along with a good backstory to explain his revenge, he does present as a good threat to Jack, and the way that the visual effects are used on him and his crew are great, by showing them like broken ghost-like figures with some of their limbs just floating around and act like they're still underwater. In fact, the effects throughout this movie are another strong point. The grand scale had always been there because of their huge budgets, but this one got back the creativity that feels more like an experience that you can only get with Pirates of the Caribbean than in any other movie with pirates.
You will pay for what you did to me.
Whew, boy, this is actually a pretty tough call with this one. I mean, absolutely, this is not one of the best movies of the year, or even one of the best movies of the franchise. But I will give it that it does have enough good points to keep it away from being a bad movie. And, I mean, I will admit, I've actually had a better time watching this adventure with Jack Sparrow than with some of the others that I've seen before. So, in a way, with the fifth movie, it's pretty much right down in the middle when it comes to the entire franchise.
Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales finds itself right in the center of the franchise, where it may not be as good as the first two films, but it is an improvement from the last two. Sure, the writing is rather weak, and the cast is a huge mix ranging from likable to just dumb, but it's still enjoyable for what it is, with great action scenes, fun humor, and some creatively well done visual effects. If you're a fan of the Pirates in the Caribbean movies, whether it be seeing them all or just enjoying a few, then this is still worth a watch. In fact, even if you just like a good action flick, this is not a bad choice. You don't have to watch all the films to understand what's going on. It mostly fills in the blanks for you. Oh, and if you do, I also recommend to stay after the credits. I'll just say that while the movie itself is satisfying as a conclusion, the post-credit scene will make you ask for more. Now, what do I give this movie? I've honestly been torn between a 6 and a 7, but I think I know how to solve this. Since it claims to be the final Pirates in the Caribbean film, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 if that's true, since it does wrap up everything well. If there is a sixth movie, however, then I'll give the fifth one a 6. I'm pretty sure that it sounds fair.
Sounds French. I love the French. Did you know that they invented mayonnaise?
Now at this point, I'm pretty much done with talking about the movie, but not with Pirates in the Caribbean entirely. So for those of you who are just here to watch the movie review, then you're free to go. Thanks for watching. But since we are in the discussion of pirates, I would like to take this time to discuss about the one thing that started it all here, and that is the attraction, or more specifically, the ride that it is today.
Considering the popularity of the franchise, it's no surprise that they would include the characters from the movies onto the ride. However, ever since then, it always felt like it got a bit of a downgrade. Allow me to explain. It's not just the factor of adding characters like Jack Sparrow in the ride. In fact, I'm glad to see them there. My only problem with it is just the way that it points out that Jack Sparrow is in here. So much so that they had to change some of the dialogue just so the pirates would have to reference him.
Surrender, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Where be Captain Jack Sparrow and the treasure, you bilge rat? Search all you want, Captain Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow, Jack Sparrow, Jack Sparrow.
And the worst part about it is that they didn't do it to all the pirates. So while some have some new dialogue that were recently recorded, others still have the same audio that was done back in 1967, thus making a massive inconsistency with the audio.
Or do you fancy a swim with Davy Jones?
Don't tell him, Carlos. Don't be cheeking.
Also, by making this all about Jack takes away a bit of the magic that makes Pirates one of Disney's greatest rides. It's not about being a part of a story, it's about being transported into a world, an idea that set the foundation for many other rides that would follow it. If you give it a linear plot about Jack Sparrow finding treasure instead of making it an open world, you're just going to turn it into any other ride in the park. Now, I'm not saying that the attraction as it stands is bad. It's still a fantastic ride, and some of the original's charm is still there. My criticisms here are only out of pure love, and all I ask is just for that perfect center where the original attraction is still prominently presented as the main feature, but with a little bit of elements from the movie. In short, less Jack Sparrow, more Pirates of the Caribbean.
Besides, If Disney really needed a place to have Jack Sparrow be prominently featured at the Disney parks, why not just go and create an entirely new ride completely dedicated to Jack and his adventures? I mean, it shouldn't be too hard for the Imagineers to think. What? What? Oh my god, what? Oh my dude! Dude! Oh my god! That is absolutely amazing! I mean, where can you find that? I just gotta go there. Of course it is. Oh my god. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, seriously. First Mystic Manor and now this? Why is it that China gets all the best Disney rides nowadays? I mean... Actually, if that's the case, 真爱的再见.
Six bottles of rum.